to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. A second look at the upcoming Raven Chapman versus Karis Artingstall fight. Raven Chapman's brief time abroad. She spent some time here in America at the Wild Card Boxing Gym, saying escaping some of the cold at home and getting quality sparring the last week with Roxana Verduzco, otherwise known as Right Hook Roxy. Massive thanks to Roxy and Coach G, her mother and trainer, for having us, and to everyone at Wildcard Boxing Club for the amazing hospitality this week. Been a dream of mine and Scott Boxing to train and spar here, so it's been a massive tick off the bucket list for us. She would have sparred Right Hook Roxy in preparation for Karis Artingstall because Roxy, like Karis, is a southpaw. Roxy, a naturally bigger fighter than either Raven or Karis. Roxy campaigns up there at lightweight, whereas Raven and Karis campaign at feather. Good sparring, good preparation. Will it make a difference? How good or how bad the decision was to take on Karis Artingstall so soon after her professional loss all hinges on whether or not she wins or loses. Karis Artingstall comes from a deeper amateur background than Raven Chapman, but Raven is a bit more experienced in the paid ranks than Karis. 31 years old to Karis Artingstall, who's 30. An orthodox fighter to Karis Artingstall, who's a southpaw. Raven sports a professional record of 9 wins with 1 loss, 2 knockouts, having never been knocked out in 10 professional bouts. Karis sports an unblemished record of 6 wins with no losses, no draws, and 1 recorded knockout. A fighter who I like to think of as the evil Sky Nicholson, the evil version, where Sky likes to hang back and move lateral, lay off. Karis is the opposite. She likes to lay into her opponents, bring punches over, brutalize them. Though we haven't seen her in a while, which to me is inexplicable, the night of the fight, it will have been over a year's time from Karis Artingstall's last fight. She was last in action all the way back there in January of last year. Why Boxer didn't keep her more busy in the previous calendar year is a mystery to me, because this is a blue-chip prospect, a former Olympian, standout amateur, and you only had her fight once? Why? What the hell happened? You squandered the time. You squandered a year. In the early stages of a fighter's career, that's when they're usually the most active, fighting 4, sometimes even 5 times in a single calendar year, where Karis at 6-0 only fought once? Boxer's dropping the ball. Yeah, they're gonna take the heat for this unless Karis herself gives some kind of explanation why she sat out 11 out of 12 months in the previous calendar year. They're matching her against Raven Chapman for a reason. They're doing the whole who did it better thing between Karis and Sky, who just beat Raven. Karis and Sky, amateur rivals. Karis beats Sky in the amateurs, but Sky is much further along in the pros. Thus, Karis is fighting Raven, who Sky just fought, in order to make up for lost time. And she's got a lot of lost time to make up for. Who wins? I don't know, because there is an intangible there. Not only is Karis Artingstall less experienced as a professional than Raven Chapman, she's less experienced, but she's also a lot less active. Where Raven fought 2 times last year, like I said, Karis only fought once, and that was over a year ago. Ring rust! They both have a penchant for aggression, stepping into their jab and stepping into their punches, laying into their opponents. They both have that in common, Karis and Raven. I would say that Karis is a more impactful puncher. That of the two, power might go to Karis. Power. Where Raven is a bit more herky-jerky, more fidgety, on her toes, bouncing back and forth, in and out, putting together combinations. Tough call. Because while Karis will have some ring rust to shake off, she is still the house fighter. This still is a boxer show. So she's got that advantage. I like the fight, but it is a bit ahead of schedule for me. Being honest, I would have preferred for Karis to have a couple more warm-up fights before going into a fight with Raven, and I would have preferred to see Raven have a rebound fight herself. She's coming off a loss. So I can't play her the violin because she accepted this. She didn't have to. Raven chose to go in this direction, which is why I love her. And she loves me? No, she doesn't. Men Super Bantamweight News veteran boxing scribe Jake Donovan says, told by multiple sources that Naoya Inoue's next fight date and location are fluid. Concerns over having to wait until June to fight in the United States could result in him remaining at home for his next fight in the spring, then the United States later in the year. Again, very fluid situation.
I wondered about that because they were saying the Picasso fight might land in June, and then Inoue would turn right around and come back in September?
Tight schedule. They're trying to fit 3 more fights into Inoue's schedule for what remains of this year, and if you have to wait until June to come back...
Tight schedule.
I don't think Inoue should be leaving his adoring public to box Alan Picasso in America anyway, because it's not like people in America know who Alan Picasso is. The whole thing seems redundant to me. You wouldn't expect Canelo Alvarez to fight abroad just for the sake of fighting abroad, so why is Inoue expected to do that? He's basically the Canelo of the lower weights. He's basically the Japanese Canelo in his own right. This guy is big money. Big time.
Whatever he does in Japan is a big event. Whenever he fights, whoever it's against. So, an Alan Picasso fight over there is actually bigger than it would be over here.
So maybe what they do is Alan Picasso in Japan in the spring, MJ Akhmadaliev, who the American fight fans are mildly more familiar with. Maybe they do that one here?
And that's a story with more traction. Those who feel that Inoue is running from MJ, he's running from that fight. Maybe if you did that one in America, it'll get a better turnout. More people will show up to see it, to finally see them fight.
So who would he fight in the 4th fight? If he's trying to fight 3 more times this year, that's Alan Picasso, maybe then MJ. Who comes after them?
Nick Ball.
At 126 pounds, there was a story that Turkey El Sheikh would like to put Inoue in the ring with WBA featherweight champion Nick Ball in Saudi at the very end of this year during Riyadh season. A chance for Naoya Inoue to become a 5-division champion.
It's a dangerous fight, dangerous endeavor, and that is a tough sequence of fights because potentially what you're talking about is going from the MJ fight right into a Nick Ball fight at a higher weight.
He's got to be careful not to wear himself thin, trying to keep an active schedule like this against this caliber of opponents in that sequence. It would work out better if you did one hard one, then one easy one, then a hard one after that.
That's 2 tough fights back to back. What could be 2 tough fights?
In a very ambitious schedule, I admire Inoue that for all the money he makes, he doesn't have to fight 2 to 3 times a year, but he wants to. More than that, he wants to fight 4 times this one, and we'll see if he can.
In men's super lightweight news, former IBF champion Subriel Matias will face Gabriel Valenzuela for a title eliminator on March 1st in Fajardo, Puerto Rico.
Ay, qué rico!
This is an IBF final eliminator, you understand. Whoever emerges the victor in this fight will be crowned the mandatory challenger to Richardson Hitchins, who is supposed to be in the process of negotiating a fight with Teofimo Lopez.
This is an additional sense of urgency for those negotiations and that potential fight. You 2 guys better hurry up and iron out a deal, because time is of the essence, and I know, underneath it all, neither one of yous want to fight this guy. Matias versus Valenzuela does not appear to be in association with Matchroom. It would seem that Subriel and Matchroom have gone their separate ways. No, this fight is in association with Salida Promotions.
Fresh Promotions, who promote Subriel, independent of Matchroom. Fresh Promotions are at the helm of promotion, and via Dimitri Salida, it will be featured on DAZN.
Because Dimitri Salida has a broadcast deal with them, so we get to watch this as part of a regular schedule, no additional charge, nothing extra, just another good fight on the calendar.
Yo, Teofimo, I don't know about all that bullshit, all that talk on the internet, talking about you got 1.3, 1.5 for whatever fight. I don't give a none of that what you talking about, nigga. Listen, you turned down an offer from Devin Haney. You turned down a $2.8 million offer from Subriel Matias. Nigga, you never seen $2.8 million. Talking about Subriel Matias ain't what you say? He ain't I guess he ain't good enough to fight you. He don't deserve to fight you. Nigga, who the you? You ain't never make 2.8 million. And on pay-per-view, you probably would have left with, let's say, 3 million. 3 point something. I don't know. Nigga, you the only one ducking. You the only one ducking. Ain't no offer even been sent to me.
No offer yet.
Like I said, nigga, send the contract. The number's right. Send me the date and time. I'm there. Ain't no excuses. And your dad in the background talking shit. I thought that old nigga learned before. I thought that old nigga learned when they beat him up in the gym and your pussy ass Teofimo ain't do shit, nigga. You stood right there.
I heard about this some months ago, that Teofimo Lopez had a sparring session with Keyshawn Davis. Keyshawn hit him after the bell. Teofimo's father got upset, used the N-word, and then some guys in the gym roughed him up.
And watch your dad get beat up. Like, what type of fighter is you? How you a whole professional boxer and you letting your dad get stomped on by like 9 other professional boxers, like in the boxing gym in front of you? Y'all niggas is soft. That's what I be trying to say. Y'all not from Brooklyn. Y'all not from New York. There's no way a nigga from New York could ever let some shit like that happen.
I've long maintained that Teofimo's residence in Brooklyn was tantamount to a marketing angle because he's really more of a Floridian than a New Yorker.
You feel me? But stop saying my name. Stop going on the internet talking shit, saying my name. Because you know, like you said, Richardson Hitchins is the only name at 140 right now that makes sense. So like I said, when they send that offer, make sure it's the right zeros. And I'm there. That's it. That's all I got to say. I ain't never ducked no smoke. Never. Ain't no contract. Ain't nothing been sent to me, nigga.
Looks like another bona fide case of he said, she said, where Teofimo says one thing, Richardson Hitchins says another, and one way or another, they jointly don't have a lot of time. The IBF final eliminator has already been made. March is right around the corner, and shortly after that, it doesn't take the IBF very long to order a mandatory. They have only what remains of this month, and this is a short month.
What's interesting,
When Bob Arum detailed the 3-fight deal that has been offered to Teofimo, not only did he say that Top Rank is happy with it, but he said that the ball is in Teofimo's court to accept. Coincidentally, Richardson Hitchins says he hasn't been offered anything.
he likely won't be offered anything until Teofimo accepts the deal. Once he accepts, they can get the ball rolling on the fight between them.
But Teofimo has to accept first. I don't know if he has. I don't know if he hasn't. I don't know if there's something lost in translation. All I know is that it hasn't been made official yet that Teofimo has inked that deal with Turkey. Until we get confirmation of that, we won't get confirmation of a Hitchins fight.
Which I think is a dangerous fight for him, by the way.
But that's the one he said he wanted. He didn't mention Rayo, the WBA champion, and he didn't mention Alberto Puello, the WBC champion. He mentioned Richardson Hitchins. He's the one who said that's the only fight that makes sense at 140, so the question is, why isn't it done yet?
What's the holdup?
What's taking so long? Because Turkey LL Sheikh himself, he moves pretty fast. Look at the Better Be versus Bivol rematch. It's right around the corner. Where I thought it might be some months, some time before we get it, it's literally here. It's almost here. And what about Fury versus Usyk 2? That didn't take long to put together either. So what's taking long here? What's the holdup?
Is it Teofimo again? Is he sandbagging it?
I don't know. All I do know is they're running out of time. They need to do this fight now before there's a mandatory in the queue via the IBF.
What round does Crawford get knocked out? I'm gonna put 8. Let's put it on the universe. So I'm gonna put it on 8. 8. And if it goes the other way, I 8. You know, I 8. So yeah, Ryan, Joe, Eddie Reynoso also. That'll be cool, man. We all get work. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna have our own underground boxing, me and Ryan, before we fight.
Will they fight? Now that both Ryan and Teofimo are being trained by the same guy, there's a conflict of interest there that could potentially stall out a fight between them, assuming that they make it to that point.
They might not. If Teofimo actually gets Richardson Hitchins in the ring, he might get outpointed. Ryan might end up losing to Devin if he gets that far.
He might get outpointed. In a situation with so many moving parts, Teofimo and Ryan being trained by the same guy may be a non-factor on a long enough timeline. Teofimo says he thinks Canelo is going to knock out Terence Crawford in about 8 rounds. That's his professional opinion that I think is somewhat unprofessional.
Because he has Canelo winning?
No, I myself have Canelo Alvarez winning the fight. I consider it unprofessional because we know that Teofimo has an axe to grind. We know that, at least publicly, he was campaigning for a Terence Crawford fight, so naturally, he's gonna pick whoever Terence is fighting to beat him.
Because he has an axe to grind. Because he has an agenda. So many people in boxing do, even the people in the industry.
You so rarely get an unbiased opinion from anybody working in the sport, and even the would-be pundits are glorified fans with a camera.
With an agenda.
He's basically Team Canelo. He's part of Eddie Reynoso's stable. So naturally, between the axe he already has to grind with Terence and joining Eddie, of course he's gonna go with Canelo to win. Why am I going with Canelo to win?
I'm a fan of both of them.
I don't have an axe to grind. As far as I'm concerned, may the best man win, but as far as who I think is going to win, I think it's going to be Canelo because he's going to see action at least one more time before he faces Terence, where Terence, the night of, will have been out for over a year's time, and he's 37 years old at a new weight. This is not just any old buddy he's up there fighting, he's fighting Canelo.
You're gonna shake off ring rust with Canelo.
I don't like the sound of that. The tribal response that this fight is eliciting from the fight fans, the feuding factions of fans, the Crawford fans, the Canelo fans, it all lends itself to the profile of the fight, which is what I've been telling you. This is a big one.
Preliminary reports indicate they want it to go down at Allegiant Stadium in Vegas, and we'll see if that checks out.
A big win for Terence Crawford, if he can prove all of us wrong. This is not a victory that you can downplay like so many of his other victories that his critics like to take away from. The win over Postol, the win over Ndongo.
They like to shit on those victories.
Even the win over Errol Spence Jr., who so many picked to beat Terence Crawford, they try to tear down that one too. Well, you can't tear down this one. A big win for Terence.
If he wins.
A big bag for Canelo if he wins. No, it doesn't mean as much for Canelo if he beats Terence, but if nothing else, it promises him a major bag. A big one for what is a big fight. One of the biggest in America.
There are some people going with Terence Crawford to win the fight.
So pay attention to who they are as the fight date approaches, as they will have a big slice of crow to eat if Canelo Alvarez wins.
And they can't disparage him for it. Not if you went with Terence to win the fight. You, least of all, can talk down a victory over him.
It's all very exciting, and it's that passion that lets you know this is a big fight in its own right. To help stimulate the boxing economy in America, where many have grown worried that all the big fights are going to end up in Saudi so long as Turkey's paying for them, he's bringing this one here for you guys. So if you want to be there,
there's no reason you can't.
And if you can't, then you shouldn't be worried about what fights go to Saudi, since you're not going anywhere anyway. You don't have the money.
Whether it's in Saudi or America, you're going to be watching it from the couch. So shut up.
Quit your crying.
Questions that still need answers. Who will Canelo Alvarez fight in May en route to Terence? We'll see.